Hey guys, Jim Hoffman here for EMS Office Hours in the Monday Minutes. Today, again, we're going to pick up again with some EMS quick study tips and focusing on anatomy and physiology. This is part 2. And again, I'm going to keep these A and P areas kind of tight so that we don't get too much into it and you lose yourself in the content, okay? So again, of course, why is this stuff important? We want to know for our exams. Most of the stuff I'm pointing out in these presentations are key elements that you will often see on EMS exams. But more importantly, it also gives you a better idea of what's going on with your patient, of course, and when it comes to what medications they take, shock, food intake, all that stuff, okay? And everything ties in together, which helps you be a better clinician. Now, while these are quick little presentations, when you're looking at your patient, I'm hoping that you will kind of remember some of these key elements and maybe something will click in your head relating to the larger content pieces on this type of subject matter. So again, this is A&P, this is part 2, and we're talking about cellular transport and pretty much what it is. It's how stuff gets around in and out of the cells, right? So let's talk about just a little bit here, okay? We talk about semipermeable cells, right? And this is the cells that allow some stuff, some substances to enter or leave, and while at the same time restricts others, okay? Now, permeability or the permeability type of cells are that's more like the rate, okay? It's like the rate at which those substances go through a membrane. Okay, and a lot of times what regulates this is the size and the charge of the molecules that are trying to get in or out of the cells. All right. Now, what are some other regulating factors? Well, you have the ion pumps. You've got things like transport and diffusion, or active transport and diffusion. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Talk about diffusion and passive diffusion, stuff like that. Okay, but we talk about one thing that goes in and out of the cell, and this is something big you're going to probably see on exams, is water, okay? And water is the only substance that does pass freely back and forth in and out of cells. And osmosis, of course, I'm sure you've seen this word before, okay? You might see it again on an exam, maybe not your next exam, but an exam somewhere in your EMS career, okay? And osmosis is that movement of the water. And water moves to equalize a solute's concentration either inside or outside of the cell. Okay? Now, we talk about talk about transport in the last slide, right? Now, active transport, this requires that ATP. All right? It requires that energy. And that's going to move the solutes against their concentration gradients. All right? Now, when we talk about passive transport, a little bit more involved because it doesn't really require energy, right, the passive transport, but we talk about two different types. You got diffusion and then facilitated diffusion. Now, diffusion is that continual movement, okay? It's all that constant movement of the particles, the solutes, from higher to lower concentration. Again, diffusion, you're going to see that again, probably, I'm sure as well. It's that higher to lower concentration, right? And why it does that? It does that until they're scattered evenly. Some examples of that would be transport of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, or electrolytes, things like potassium or sodium. Now, facilitated diffusion, this is sort of a specialized transport protein that ends up binding to molecules and moves it through the cell membrane. Most important ones are things like glucose or amino acid. Now, the facilitated diffusion is still a passive sort of transport because it's still going from a higher to a lower concentration. Okay? So, again, these are some key points you want to look at, right? Some key, terms, right? Diffusion, osmosis, okay, active transport, ATP, all these types of things, okay? So go back and watch this video to get these key elements. If you're not 100% sure what they are, based on what I'm telling you, okay? Because I'm going through these slides and through this content with the idea that you already have been through a paramedic class. You've been through the training, right? Your instructor did a great job giving you an hour-long presentation on cellular transport, right? But I'm trying to give you the key elements so when you take your exam, these types of things really click in your mind for what's good you see on the test. So go back and watch this. Get these key elements: diffusion, osmosis, active transport, ATP, all that good stuff. Don't get it, don't understand what it is, grab your textbook and start cracking that book open on the parts that you don't know so that you can know better what these key elements are. And again, not just for exams, but also to make you a great clinical provider as well. Don't have a textbook, you lost it, you know what? Go pick one up at the library or join me over at Permeability and get some great content there that explains all this stuff in much more detail. Now I want to go over a couple of more key terms before we wrap up today's session. And we're going to talk about this word here. I'm probably going to murder it, but it's tonicity. And this is the number of particles of the solute per unit volume. Now, you probably not see that too much on exams, but just keep that in mind that the tonicity is the number of particles. Now, we talk about isotonic, right? And you hear a lot of isotonic fluid, hypertonic fluid, hypotonic fluid, right? Well, for our purposes here, when we talk about cellular transport, we talk about isotonic. This is that osmotic pressure that's equal to bodily fluid, right? And the hypotonic is the osmotic pressure, all right, that is less than normal body fluids. And then hypertonic, of course, is the opposite, right? It's the osmotic pressure that's greater than normal bodily fluids, all right? So, again, these are key terms: hypotonic, isotonic, hypotonic. Keep those in mind. What you're talking about, you talk about less than the bodily fluid, what the osmotic pressure is, okay? All key terms, guys, the stuff you're gonna probably see in exams somewhere down the line. Okay, so again, these are quick slides. I'm highlighting very broad key elements that you're going to see on tests and what you should already know from what your instructor and what your education as an EMS provider has given you to date. Now, if you're not 100% sure when we talk about hypotonic and the osmotic pressure and all that stuff, crack open that textbook and read more about what a hypotonic or hypertonic, isotonic, what all that is, so you understand it better. Okay, so guys, I hope we can use these Monday minutes. Again, these are nice, quick, short presentations to give you those key elements you're going to see on tests, that you're going to see on quizzes. Okay, and I'm hoping it's going to make you a better clinical provider, a better test taker. But also, I'm hoping that this information is going to start ringing some bells again to bring in that larger content that you already know, right? But maybe you just need a little bit of a kick here and there to help kind of, put the pieces together and to kind of ring that bell so that you can remember what, when you see these terms, what they mean and why. Okay, so I want to again, of course, point out the EMS Quick Study Guide. This is really sort of what we've been doing in this series, right? Breaking down that larger textbook into a nice, short little chunks, and that's what the EMS Study Guide is. This is the meat and potatoes of an EMS course. It's about 112 pages. You can get a physical or a digital copy of this, or both if you'd like, over on the website. Just click here for details to get some more information about it, and we'll go ahead and get either the physical or the digital copy out to you. And again, this is going to be a lot of what we're doing here in the slides, but you know what? It's in book form. You can read it. You can break down a lot of this even a little bit further. All right. And I'm telling you guys, I've used this guide myself year after year, taking exams, and this guide really helped, because if I see something in the guide that I don't completely understand and I don't remember enough of it to going into an exam, then I get that 500-600 page, 1,000-page textbook, or I jump over to Turbomatic and I look into it a little bit more deeply to really understand what it is that I'm missing when I'm reading some of the content in this shorter guide. Okay? Hope that makes sense, guys. Click here for details. Go check it out, and hopefully you'll pick it up and add this sort to your own EMS library. Guys, if you've got some Monday minutes of your own, be sure to send them over to me. My email is contact@emsofficehours.com. comments, concerns, also let me know at that email address. Guys, please leave some notes below in the show notes below here, either on the blog or if you're watching it on YouTube, leave some comments here on YouTube as well. Like it, thumbs up, thumbs down, I don't care. Any kind of commentary is great for me. The feedback you give me helps me build more content, better content, okay, of what you, the field provider, and the person that's out there in the field with the patients really needs to know to be a better clinician, a better documentation expert when you're talking about charting your patients, okay, and a better overall EMS professional. Guys, until next week, as always, Jim Hoffman for EMS Office Hours on the Monday Minutes. Stay safe.